What is up, YouTube? I want to show you something. So the awesome people at Plugin Boutique sent me a utility tool that they have on offer called Scaler. And I really do like the plugin, and I think it could be a game changer for some of my viewers. I've been getting a lot of questions about sort of easier ways to create melodies and chords like that in your musical compositions and your tracks. So I wanted to show you guys this plugin. I definitely think it could be a game changer. Thanks so much for the peeps at Plugin Boutique for sending it through to me. Awesome plugin, and I'm really enjoying it. It's cool to kind of get new ideas for stuff that, for myself, I'm kind of more sort of focused on the sort of electronic production and sound design side of things that often I forget to tune up my skills in terms of music theory and stuff, and I've definitely been learning a lot while using the Scaler plugin. So today we're looking at a plugin called Scaler by Plugin Boutique. It's a utility plugin that makes making chords and melodies a breeze, especially if you like myself and you don't know too much about music theory and you just kind of want to gather a bunch of sort of MIDI triggerable chords in one place to play on your MIDI controller. And Scaler has a bunch of really cool features built in for live and for production and stuff, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of the really cool features. I've got this drum and bass track here, which is sounding a little bit sort of, I would say, a little bit too hard, a little bit too technical. There's not really much sort of musical elements going on. So I kind of want to create like a sort of quite a musical intro, with some chords and stuff and a melody, and so that it kind of gives that, more power to the bass when it comes in. This is the track, what I've got so far. I'm going to add Scaler. We're going to play with a couple of melodies and chords and see what we can come up with and attempt to show you guys how cool this plugin really is in a short period. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do so with all the features that are built in. So yeah, let's dive in and have a look. So let's add the Scaler plugin. Something that's really cool about this plugin that a lot of the other sort of chord and MIDI sort of plugins don't have is that this has a sort of built-in sound generator that just makes life a little bit easier when creating or when finding chords, because you don't have to necessarily route it to a plugin to start playing with it. What I like to do is I actually like to find some chords just using the stock piano or stock string sounds that are built in, and then I sort of layer some sounds over the MIDI that I've already found. I'm going to show you guys the setup process a little bit later on, but let's find some chords that we can go with the song. So first things first, the track is in F minor. Well, it's pretty much, I think, just in F, the bass just playing an F note all the way through with some modulations and stuff going on. So what we can do is we can head on over to the scale section, and just to narrow down this huge menu of like mass amounts of scales to choose from, we can narrow it down to just the F key, and we can choose here F minor scale. And what this does is it brings up a menu at the bottom here of a bunch of chords that we can trigger either with a mouse. But I want to show you something interesting over here. If you click this bind MIDI to B, so basically this plugin is broken up into like 3 sections. You can think of it as sort of A, B, and C. So when I'm finding the chords, I'll just sort of use the B section, trigger it with my MIDI, and then you can load it up into this progression section at the bottom here, or C. And what this allows you to do is to create variations, sort of chord variations and voicing variations of the specific chords that you've chosen for your progression. So that might be going a little bit too technical, and it is a little bit for me. I mean, I don't really understand too much about that side of things, but using this plugin has kind of helped me to understand a little bit more about it. Anyway, I digress. So I'm going to show you guys, let's just bind MIDI over here. So what this allows us to do, you'll notice that it grays out these keys at the top here. So what that means is now on our MIDI keyboard, if you've got a MIDI keyboard, you can actually trigger those notes, and it's going to trigger these chords at the bottom here. I'll show you now quickly what I'm talking about. So that's pretty cool. I mean, we've already got some stuff we can like jam over the track just to quickly, maybe get some new ideas and stuff like that. Cool, so that's the sort of the easy part. Now we've got this chord variations. What this allows you to do is create sort of multiple variations of, for example, just the F minor chord. So if you've got a section that you kind of want to remain on a specific chord or something that fits with the bass or the key of another sort of element in the track, but you really want to drill down something musically, it's quite nice to create chord variations because you're still using the same sort of chord, and it can create interesting sort of timbres when working alongside like a different root note or something like that. Again, I don't really want to get too technical in this video because I don't really know too much, so I don't really want to go too in depth in case I kind of say something wrong. So here what we can do is, let's say for example, I like this the sort of vanilla F minor chord, and I like these sus2, sus4, and minor 7th. So what we can do is we can drag these into our progression section over here. And now we can find another chord in the scale. So we've created like a progression there at the bottom. So now if we want to trigger that with our MIDI controller, we can simply just click over here, bind to MIDI section C. And now our MIDI keyboard is going to play these chords over here at the bottom. So I'm not quite sure if this is going to work musically with what we've got so far. I mean, it probably will, judging by the fact that it's kind of all in the key of F minor. You kind of do want to like play the track alongside, you know, while you're just messing around to see which variations work the best, because some of the chord variations may use a key that doesn't specifically work with the root note or something like that. Furthermore, you've got this sort of voicing section, which allows you to create even more variations of those chords themselves. So you can get really technical here. I mean, you can even sort of create your own unique chords from scratch. I think if you're at that level, you could probably just sort of play the chords anyway. But anyway. So bear in mind, my idea was to create a sort of musical intro rather than to play the sort of piano over the beat. So it might not sound like a banger right now. I'm just kind of checking to see if those keys if those chords kind of work with the key and work with the track and stuff like that. We can create a MIDI pattern using this sort of progression that we've created. So let's record that in quick. So you might have to just edit the notes a bit depending on what your sort of quantized settings and stuff are. So we can set this up as our sort of intro now. Let's audition how it sounds with those strings and stuff. So obviously now if we use a synth or something like that, we've got more control. We can use like cutoff sweeps and stuff like that, and we've got like sort of control over like where the tail cuts off and stuff like that. So let's do that. So here what I've done is I've added Falcon, the VST, or it'll work for any VST. So you can just follow along like this. What you want to do is you want to set it up so that your plugin is grabbing the MIDI information. It's just over here in your inspector bar, just above my head. You want to set it up to grab from scalar. So now what's going to happen is it's going to play the chords. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to jump back over to scalar and just switch this little switch here with the speaker off. So now it's going to mute the sounds. Now Falcon will be playing our chords. Cool, so for now I'm just finding a random preset, and what we can do is we can set it up so that Falcon records the MIDI in from scalar. So all you need to do is make sure that Falcon's little record enable, or whichever VST you're using, record enable button is on over here, and then just hit record. Cool, so now it has recorded our chords. So let's see if we can make some cool melodies to go alongside that. So what we can do is we can open scalar again, and we can re-enable the sound. We just want to unbind the MIDI. And then if you click scale lock over here, what it's going to do is it's going to not allow you to play any MIDI keys that aren't within the scale. So you can play around and find some notes that are in the scale and record those in the MIDI, or punch them in with a mouse, or however you prefer to do it. And it's really cool. What it does is, say for example, if you play a note that's just above the one that's sort of cancelled out, it'll play one that's closest within the scale. So no matter what you do, you're going to play something that sounds within the key of your track. So this is really good if you want to create sort of really sort of moving MIDI patterns, and you want to kind of have emphasis on a change over a long period of time. And you can record something really fun in doing that, especially if you've got a MIDI controller. So for this sort of vibe, these sort of melodic strings and stuff weren't really working. So I came up with this sort of patch. It's actually from within the plugin itself. It was the same chords that we were using before, but instead of like an arpeggiator, or instead of just the regular chords, you can set it to strumming over here. And what it allows you to do is play the chord with a sort of like humanized strum motion, like this, basically. And that sounds really cool with on piano with a sort of dub delay kind of effect, specifically with this style that I was kind of going for. So I ended up going with that rather than a sort of melody. But obviously, depending on what you guys kind of want to go for, I kind of like outlined the melodic process there, how you can set it to a scale lock so it'll only record in specific sounds and stuff like that. Anyway, so this was the final effect. So it's pretty cool how it creates this kind of like contrast between the sort of melodic texture and then the really hard bass and stuff like that. So generally in my music, I like to create those sort of big contrasts, you know, very melodic sections and then hard bass sort of drops. So yeah, if you guys like to do the same, this might be the plugin for you. If you guys want to learn something about music theory and stuff like that, this might also be the plugin for you. Definitely check it out. There's a ton of like loaded presets and, you know, built-in sort of songs and stuff already, which have, you know, different chords and stuff to choose from. So it's pretty cool. You should definitely check it out. Thanks so much for watching. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you guys already use this plugin, or if there's any other plugins that you guys use that are similar to Scalar, let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for Plugin Boutique for sending me the plugin. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time.